All right, good afternoon, Savannah, and welcome to the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm your host, Taraz, and I'm here this morning with Miss Julia Mikhailovna Spencer.
That's my middle name, yeah. Just Julia Spencer.
Julia Spencer, okay. I just wanted to say Mikhailovna.
Yeah.
All right.
Mikhailovna.
All right, so thank you, Julie, for being here. Sorry, guys, I'm starting a few minutes late. I got stuck in some crazy traffic. But I'm happy to be here. And thankfully, Julie was here to man the helm before I got here.
Of course.
Right. So the way I like to start the show is with a scenario. And here we go. All right, so you're walking through your neighborhood. A little kid comes up to you and says, "Julia, you're my hero. How can I be like you when I grow up?"
Don't be like me. Do not walk away.
So in the language that a 10 to 12-year-old can understand, what does it take to be Julia Spencer?
Gosh, I've heard your show before, and I should have been prepared. It takes very little sleep, and a lot of determination, and a lot of work. Being me is a lot of work. And I don't know, what does it take to be me? I do 10,000 things every day. It seems like you would have to have a really, really strong mind, I would say, and a lot of drive, and be very hard-headed at times. And I'm working on that. So, yeah, that's probably a good summary in general terms, I guess.
Yeah.
But, feel free to ask me more details.
Okay.
What do I do every day if that's what you wanted to know? I don't know.
No, not yet, but I will get there. We'll get there. Okay, so awesome. All right, so just keep plugging away and have energy. Seems like
having the energy, yeah. Well, I don't know if the listeners know, I actually have a show right here on WRUU, which is actually on right after Taraz's show here, and it's on real estate. Real Estate Real Talk is the name of my show, and I call myself a real estate professional, although I'm not a real estate, a realtor, or I don't work in the banking industry or anything like that. I'm a private real estate investor. That's what I call myself, but I do a lot of different things. I call it my 3 legs that I always stand on. There's my vacation rentals, my tax sale foreclosure investing, and I do a lot of education on that side as well. So I'm also a single mom. I'm 100% single mom, so I have 2 kids to raise as well. So it seems like I'm all over the place every day. I mean, it really is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, every day of the year type job.
Yeah.
But I love it. I actually posted something on Facebook this morning before I came here, and I said sometimes it would be really nice to have a nice sit-down salary job, but of course you wouldn't have the rewards that you have being a single business owner.
Very true. Very true. Or the flexibility in your schedule.
That's right.
All right, cool. All right, so I had you on the show for a few reasons. One is because I used to be a real estate agent. I know how, I know you're not an agent, but investor. I'm still an investor as well because we own a couple of properties. But it's business. Like, you're an entrepreneur, still. So that's why I had you on the show. But also, because you are a host, I wanted to use like May as a way for me to like just give back and interview a bunch of the hosts on the station.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
It's a good thing for people to know who we all are right here on the air too.
Right.
We all have different lives as well outside the radio here, so this is good for our listeners here in Savannah.
Very true. So how'd you get into real estate? What was your first purchase? What was the first moment you said, "Okay, I'm going to go for it"?
Accident. I didn't want anything to do with real estate. It was really an accident. I went to school for something completely different for many years and worked that as well, but ended up moving and being stuck with my very first house that I bought when I was 23.
Okay.
In where was it? Crestview, Florida. We call it Crestucky because it's in the middle of nowhere. And no hard feelings here for Kentucky or anything like that. It's just the way we called it. And so it was in the middle of nowhere. It was hard to rent. It was a newer home, and I was stuck with a mortgage, and I had to do something. And first thing I did, of course, I contacted a property manager to see if they could rent it for me. Of course, they wanted 10%, and I didn't agree with that, so I had to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I kind of just got thrown in it by accident. And one property turned into 2, later on turned into 3. Every time I moved, I bought another house and couldn't sell them right away, or didn't want to, or didn't know how to. And before long, I had this portfolio of real estate, and hey, let's do something with this, because now other things came into play. I needed more time to be home. And the main goal of getting into real estate was not to make money, was never to make money. It was to have my time for me. And that's how I define wealth in any case.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Time is money in a lot of ways. So, okay. All right. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So, what was I going to say? Yes.
Yeah.
We bought a rental in Atlanta, and they wanted not just 10%. Like, we're okay with 10% if it works out where you have that much. We're okay with 10% and let somebody else handle everything. But they also wanted like 2 months rent up front.
Oh, yeah. They do that too sometimes.
Yeah.
That is actually a requirement in some states to collect first and last month's rent. Because it normally takes about a month, sometimes even longer, depending where you are, to evict somebody. So they want to cover themselves at the end if somebody leaves and doesn't pay them. Yeah. So in some states, it's illegal. So it's just depending on where you are.
Yeah. How's it in Georgia? Is that like
in Georgia, you are actually not, as far as here, property managers that are listening here in the Savannah area, please correct me, because I'm winging this with the knowledge I have. I do believe that it is not legal to collect first and last month's worth of rent. However, you can collect a security deposit and hold that.
Gotcha.
And if you want to cover your first, last month's rent, and just increase your security deposit to cover those two things.
True.
And then you can use that. So there's ways to work around everything. There's different ways to skin the cat, is the way I say it usually. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Yeah, because I just thought that was weird. From the property manager to ask the owner, not even the tenant but to ask me for that so much rent, it seemed like a lot. So I was like, nah.
It is. It's hard. It's hard to get approved for renting a place these days. There's a lot of requirements, and it's for good reason. Something happens if a tenant comes in and destroys your property or does something, then as a landlord you have to adjust the rules for everybody else from that point onward, and it just keeps growing. And I have to tell people, you have to interrupt me. Just tell me if you want to ask me questions.
Yeah, I will.
I remember writing my first lease, and it was just a lease I got from the internet probably like 20 years ago. And it was just a regular template lease that you can download from anywhere or buy anywhere. And in the end, the lease was 20 pages long because I just kept adding things people have done. It's like, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. No, you're not allowed to use the fire extinguisher to just turn off a fire in your oven if something's burning, things like that. And it's little things, and it just grows. And after that, I was like, okay, I got to stop what I'm doing. I got to call in the professionals. Yeah. I need to step away, stop micromanaging. So that's another tip actually for anybody that wants to go into business.
Yeah. Yeah. So how's Airbnb working out? I listened to one of your shows. You were talking about you had some young girls stay there. They were
yeah. That show was a funny show.
They were out in the front yard.
They were sunbathing in my front yard. Now, that's a show, by the way, if Savannah listeners you want to listen to. It's on the WRUU.org website as well. But so yeah, Airbnb is kind of like I love them and I hate them at the same time. They are my cash cow of my business, basically. This is where most of my money comes from. And I got to deal with them. Not just Airbnb. I deal with other portals out there as well.
Okay.
HomeAway, there's travel. I can't remember. There's several websites out there, anyways, where all my properties are listed. So we fill the calendar with these different portal reservations. And I deal with all of them, and it's challenging sometimes. It's challenging not only to deal with them, but it's also challenging to deal with the guests themselves, who the more guests you have, the more people will break things or take things or act inappropriately with other people around. And it's a challenge. It's a business, it really is a business, just like every other business. It's not something you can do just on the side. In my proportion, the size of my business, it's a full-time job, pretty much.
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, it definitely takes, a vast majority of your attention to do it right. I would assume.
And sometimes it's very aggravating, but it's sometimes also very, very rewarding. I get guests in sometimes that come, of course, our beautiful city of Savannah here, where we have so many things going on all throughout the year. And sometimes you get to join them and hang out with them, and it's rewarding. And I've met some of my best friends through vacation rental hosting. And nice. So I take the good and the bad. As long as I can have the good as well, I can deal with the bad. And that's kind of like how I try to justify the bad things when they happen. It's like, all right, this happened, but on the other side, I got a good paycheck, and I'm paycheck, not really paycheck. It's a rewarding financially to be a vacation rental host in this city, and it's a good thing,
Got you. One thing, because we've thought about doing it. I don't know if I'm gonna do it in my house, but I might do it if we get another rental around here. But like, how are the how are the neighbors and like the other community people? Because that's one thing I would worry about is the backlash from the neighborhood. Not
And that's a big question. This is a really good question. I've had that question before, and some of the interviews that I've done. You really have to be involved with your neighborhood, with your neighbors, and you have to. You can't just take this on the easy side. Dealing with your neighbors when you have vacation rentals in the suburban area. Most of my places are in suburbia. I know all my neighbors. I've had the properties there for many years, and I deal with them on a daily basis. So this is the way I have chosen to deal with it, which has been successful for me, which may not work in your case, but it does for me, is it all boils down to interpersonal relationships between you as the business owner and the people that are affected by your business. So when people are loud and they make noise, or, I can share the story that I've had more girls. It's always the girls that make all the trouble. So people think guys are the bad guy. But they've locked the keys in the car and tried to open the car. Of course, the car alarm went off middle of the night. My neighbors were freaking out. I'm not even there. Yeah. And I got some angry phone calls after that. So you got to really gauge it and see what you can get away with, and kind of check your guests, make sure that they're acceptable for your neighborhoods. Don't accept bachelor parties unless you can verify that they're going to be not disturbing your neighbors. But also keep up your relationships with your neighbors. Okay. It's probably good advice for any business. And in my case, I whenever somebody has Tupperware to sell, I buy it. If somebody wants to offer babysitting services from my neighbors, I'll take advantage of that. If somebody offers me to cut the grass, I'll hire them to do it versus somebody I don't know. Right. So it's a very interesting interlaced relationship with me and my neighbors, and I try to keep them happy. I try to keep my neighbors happy before I keep my guests happy. Okay. That's the basic thing.
That's probably smart, because your guests only there for 2 days?
Exactly,
3 days
exactly, and they're gone, and my neighbors will be there.
Very true, very true. Yeah, I know. I've seen a lot of signs around Savannah, like around I forget the name of the area, but like where it's like no Airbnb. There you go. With big red letters. With a line through. I saw those too. Yeah. And that's another thing you have to deal with. The condo associations and the homeowners associations. These are people that are very strictly going against vacation rental businesses, or they want to have a certain ratio of owner occupied versus tenant occupied, or vacation rental occupied. So again, you have to really maneuver. It's a full-time job to maneuver through all the rules. And in my case, thankfully, I don't have an HOA. I don't have a condo association to deal with. In the case of City of Savannah, of course, you have to follow their rules. Right. It's a full-time job. It's a management job is what it is. And it's not even upper management. You have to deal with the problems as they occur. Yeah. On a day-to-day basis. So I'm on call 24/7 all the time. Oh, man. My phone's with me all the time. I actually have 2 phones, and I'm showing them to Therese right now. Just in case one dies, I have a second phone. So unless I'm sleeping, I'm working. Wow. Really.
that's the way it is.
You ever think about hiring anybody? You're just doing all your...
I've hired people. Yeah, I've had people working for me, but they have questions too. So
That's true.
The central belly button is always going to be me eventually. Yeah. I don't have to deal with the big emergencies. Thank goodness anymore. If something big happens, I have secondary people that they can call and emergency numbers. So it's not that big of a deal when I'm offline for a couple hours or something. But in the end, it will come to me and I'll have to deal with it. So we have cleaners, we have people that I can call an emergency maintenance staff and things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that was kind of my issue. Like I said, we just bought a home last year, rental property in Atlanta, Decatur, technically. And I then decided against the management group because it was too expensive. But luckily with like Facebook and the internet and cell phones, I could get a HVAC guy out there. I could get a handyman guy out there. You know what I'm saying? It was extremely easy.
Self-management is possible. Yeah. Especially if you have long-term rentals. It's much easier with long-term rentals. So the shorter your turnaround times when they increase, so does all your other work that comes along with it.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you also into training. So like, what do you train people on?
Yeah. A couple of years ago. Well, here's my skinny down.
Okay.
My goal, like I said in the beginning of the show, my goal was always to not work. It seems like I'm working more than in any other time in my life. But my goal was to not be stuck in a 9-to-5 job sitting in a desk somewhere. That was always my goal. I wanted to be able to take my kids to school, to pick them up, to go to their rehearsals, their sports games, on vacations whenever they're off. That's my goal. That's my wealth. That's how I define success.
Yeah.
And of course, we need money to do that as well. So financial side has to be in place, but it's not the most important. So I was always looking for other avenues to make sure that I can accomplish that somehow. And one of the things that I came across, this is going to be a really long story. I'm going to
go for it. We got time.
I met a local hypnotherapist that lived here in this town. So he doesn't live here anymore. And what he was doing is he was publishing ebooks on hypnotherapy. Again, a little bit off the topic here. But basically, he figured out a way to market his knowledge online. And I've never heard of this. I wasn't very good in marketing classes in school, even though I have a business degree. And that's not interesting to me. But I basically just at a dinner party, I said, hey, what are you doing? How do you do that? Can you teach me how to do that?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, let's do this. You'll teach me everything I ask you and want to know about real estate, and I'll teach you anything and everything I know about knowledge management, selling your knowledge online. So we've been having this relationship going on for many years now where he's asking me and I'm asking him, and we both have grown through that. So it's been great. So what I have done is I started putting my knowledge into ebooks. And I've published so far 8 ebooks that are on my website, and started very intensively marketing them with YouTube videos, with Instagram, Facebook, all the stuff out there. And and I've been able to sell some. Actually, people actually want to hear what I have to say, and I have a lot of subscribers. And and this is also how my show came about, right here on this radio station, is to go and reach a wider audience, I guess, especially here in Savannah, since I live here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. When did you write your first ebook? How long ago was that?
I want to say it was 3 years ago.
Okay.
Right about 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've done 8 ebooks since then?
8, yes.
I'm sorry,
and
8.
I almost think that it's not enough because I could have done a lot more. I've pretty much done the first 6 in the first year, and since then I'm kind of been lazy.
Got you.
It takes a lot of concentration to do a book and a lot of undisturbed time, which I don't have very much of, where I'm still awake to function.
Yeah, I tried writing one before. I finished it, but nobody bought it, and I didn't really market it like I should have. But I wrote one before. It was like back when so I was into podcasting. I have a podcasting company, but my first podcast was on real estate, where I interviewed experts around the country on how a new real estate agent could be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, I took the tips that I learned from them and created an ebook
Mm-hmm.
with like tips, you know, on how to get your first sale, that type thing. But nobody bought it. You know?
Well, you know, and the thing is, your book is probably excellent. Marketing is really everything.
Yeah.
That really is. It could be anything. You could be selling any. This is the one thing I learned, and this is for anybody who's listening that wants to maybe get some tip from us right here talking about how to start a business. Marketing is so extremely important. I can't even say it's more important than anything. If you're trying to sell something, marketing is what you have to learn how to do first.
I agree with that.
And do it really well, and then you can sell anything.
Yeah.
That's
So what is the one thing that you think gets the most books sold for you, or the most trainings and teachings and ebooks?
In terms of marketing?
Yes.
Social media, actually.
Okay.
Social media, yes, especially YouTube. YouTube is a big platform that brings in a lot of contacts for me, subscribers. And then, of course, all the other outlets, Facebook, Instagram and stuff. But YouTube is really the biggest thing, because a lot of the education that I do, I actually publish for free on YouTube. And this is how people find me, through search engines and things.
Awesome.
So the radio show has helped, but not as much as YouTube. I mean, as long as you put your stuff on YouTube, you're, at least in my case, you're going to be successful by default. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
I can't live off my books yet, but we're getting there, close to it. So, and then that's, and the other thing I was going to say, and I know you have these questions, probably like these set questions. I have to preempt you a little bit here. Most of my books have failed. In fact, I want to say all of my books have failed except for 2. So, and those are the last 2 that I actually wrote. So that means I had to go through 6 failures before I got a book that actually was selling at all. And we can talk about that some more. Yeah, I had to find the niche that people actually cared about, and I had no clue. So in the beginning, I was in the dark. Yeah. And the point with marketing is to throw out as much as you can and see what comes back and adjust from there. So, and I'm talking about putting as many videos on YouTube and social media and see what do people actually watch, what do they want to know about, and then talk to them about that only. So yeah, that's a very brilliant point. That's something I just read recently in a book, and it's all about just putting it out there. You know, just getting the work done, and then. I have the most horrible YouTube videos out there, by the way, Savannah listeners. If you want something to laugh about, look at some of my first videos that I've done 3 years ago. You're gonna laugh. I say the most stupidest things that nobody wants to know anything about, and I'm standing in front of locations that nobody even. What is she doing? It's not relevant to anything. Yeah. And I get no views, of course, and. But it had to go out there. The purpose of that was to find out what not to do. That's true. And not ever do that again.
So what niche are you attracting the most people because of?
Tax sale foreclosure investing. Okay. A lot, and overage investing. So I found out that nobody really wants to know how to start in real estate investing. Nobody cares about how to be a landlord much. Nobody really cares about any of these other topics I've made ebooks about, but everybody wants to know about how to make quick money. And tax sale foreclosures is what everybody wants to get into, and overage investing, which I haven't done a book on yet. But those are the only books that sell, actually.
Real quick before we take a break, like what is overage investing?
That's a subset of tax sale foreclosure investing, where in states such as in Georgia, where you go to an auction and you bid on a tax sale foreclosure property, and it's a starting bid and it goes up and up and up. So there's a difference of the ending bid versus what is required by the county or city or taxing authority to extinguish the lien or the amount that's due. There's a difference. That delta is usually can be collected by the original owner. Okay. But a lot of owners don't know that it exists because they don't go to the sales. They figure they lost their property, whatever. So this money is sitting with the taxing authorities waiting to be collected by the original owners who don't know about it. So overage investors go to these auctions, monitor the auctions, and write down what the overages are, then contact the original owners and collect that money as a third party from the taxing authorities while collecting a fee for their services, or a significant amount, sometimes up to 50%.
Wow.
So a lot of people like that because you don't have to go in with any startup cash. It's something you can do right away if you have the people skills.
Right.
So
that's brilliant. You know what I'm saying? It's just like every now and then it's just something new that you just never knew even existed, you know? It's kind of like wholesale investing for, I don't, maybe not wholesale investing, but
it's a little bit, it's the way I describe it. I'm sorry if you have to remember. The way I describe it is like somebody who goes out and collects money for loans that are unpaid, but on the other side, the flip side, the debit side, where money is actually owed to somebody. So it's got a lot to do with headhunting and finding people, putting them on the books, on contract and all that. So it's the opposite of collecting money for loans. Yeah. Collectors on the good side.
Right. Yeah. Bringing you money instead of taking it away. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Okay, we're going to take a break.
Yeah.
I do have another question, but we're going to take a break. All right, so we'll be right back to put Julia through the lightning round. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a second. Oh, Julia, real quick, how can people find you? What's your YouTube page? Or how can they reach out to you?
You can just go to my website. It's juliamspencer.com. Don't forget the M in the middle. And, of course, if you Google my name, Julia M. Spencer with the M in the middle, you'll find me right there.
All right, perfect. All right, we'll be right back in a second.